What is up, guys? We are back, and we are here for the third run. As you can tell by the title of this video, I am here to announce the brackets and the card list for the third run. Now, let me get some stuff out the way. First of all, the last tournament, our previous tournament, King LF1, obviously it is a success. It's ongoing though. We are at the finals, where in just a day from when this video was uploaded, maybe approximately, our finals will be played. It'll be Spotless versus Spec 2. The rematch from the very first run is going to be happening at King LF1. The finals is Saturday for both of those competitors, best of 3. So yeah, drop in a comment who you think is going to win the rematch from Spotless versus Spec. And now on to something here. At the top of the screen, we can see it says August 20th to 26th for this tournament. That is incorrect. I've just not gotten around to editing this particular not wallpaper, but I guess poster, if you will. And yeah, I've had a lot of other stuff to work on, so cut me some slack here, but it is August 20th. That is when it begins. It's just I'm stretching this from a 1-week event to a 2-week event, because this is our first ever major tournament. I guess if by definition you want to call the other tournaments we played minors, then sure, go ahead. But this is the first ever 8 to 16 entrant one. Every other tournament that I've hosted in FH5 for 1v1s have only been 8 entrants max. But this one here, we got a total of 14 competitors. Not quite the 16, but man, we're closer to 16 than we are 8, and that's what I'm most happy about. So I got some rules to get out the way here, because the format is it is different. It's different, okay? It's different from the regular old just randomize the lobbies and top picks class, bottom picks map. We're switching it up for majors. There's only going to be 2 type of tournaments that I do. It's going to be minors, if you will, which are the ones we've been doing. The one that King LF1 is, everything from the run to King LF1. You'll know. I'll announce what tournaments are minors and which ones are majors. But in our major tournaments, we will have a different format moving forward for every major. So let me go ahead and get I think the screen should be up here. It's still in fucking MS Paint, but you know what? Let me go ahead and just change it over here this way so you guys can see. Right here is our new poster with all of the brackets. That's right, there is no randomize. I think I've told you guys that before. I've told a lot of people that before, at least. But if you didn't know before, now you know. There is no randomizer when it comes to the major tournaments. We do it ranked. So go ahead in the Discord and go to the ranks channel or server, whatever you guys call it, and check the order of the players that are in this tournament, what they're ranked as. And then I just put the best player versus the best player versus the worst of our batch, of our entrants at least, going into the major tournament. In this case, the best player in the world as of right now obviously is Spec. His record is somewhere in the 20 wins right now with only 2 losses. So we'll see what happens with Spotless facing off against him. But Spec will be going against the quote worst. He's not even worse, but as you can see, it says U5, U4, U3, U2, and U1 next to the player on the right. The players on the right's names. That just means unranked. And of the unranked players, I ranked them 1 through 5 based on my own personal opinion, because we don't have anything to really go off of. They haven't played 1v1 tournaments, so they don't have a record. So I used my summer tier list to rank Musty through Miranda, and then I just went off the eye test with Mr. Sick and Assassin, because they are relatively new players to our community here in the 1v1s. But yeah. So for the first round, Spec versus Assassin. I mean, what an intro to the 1v1 tournaments Assassin's gonna get here, going off against Spec. But hey, if you want a bit of an easier person to face off in your first round in majors, you gotta show up to the minors. Obviously, that's no fault of Assassins or Mr. Sick, because they are new competitors But for anyone else, if you want to be ranked higher and go against someone a bit easier in the first round, then show up to the minors. That's the incentive for getting a quote easy first round at majors, which points will be, by the way, I also should have stated that instead of points being worth 0.5 or half a point, wins will now be a whole point towards your ranks in majors only. So show up to minors, get ranked high in majors, and just grind those points out. Okay. Tim versus Mr. Sick. Auto versus Miranda. That's gonna be a good one. Auto Cycle. I mean, hey, I'm buying a lot of stock in Auto Cycle. I'm buying a lot of stock in Auto Cycle. He got knocked out of the tournament by Spotless, but I mean, it's Spotless. Spotless is a top 3 competitor in the 1v1 division right now, so that there's no shame to that at all. And then against the debuting Miranda, I've been trying to get her in these tournaments. Tim probably has been trying to get her in these tournaments as well. We will finally get to see Miranda in a 1v1 tournament here, debuting in the 3rd run. Next up, we have, oh, by the way, about the Auto versus Miranda match, I believe they were on the same team for at least a short amount of time, maybe a month or, somewhere in that range, for the Bar League, where they were the green team together. So if I'm not mistaken, I think they teamed up for at least 1 or 2 games. So they have that storyline going into that match. Everyone knows, I'll say it every time I can, I am a sucker for storylines and just matches that make sense on paper. Even if the skill is not quite there, if it makes sense and has a story to it, I'm here for it. I want to see it. So that's one, the green team members going against each other. We also have Stolen versus Tokyo. They are real life brothers. If anyone does not know that, I mean, that's not doxing you guys. I mean, everyone that plays King with us knows that by now. So a brother versus brother match here. Stolen is 4th ranked in this tournament, going into this tournament, not in the world, but just in this particular tournament here, the 3rd run. And he will be going against his older brother Tokyo, who has not played a single 1v1 tournament and is making his debut. Also, a little thing about this match, a little extra storyline to it, if you will. Stolen has been considering at least a temporary retirement from competitive King and maybe even King as a whole. So potentially Stolen could have his very last match against his brother, and if that doesn't write itself, I don't know what does. I mean, the 3rd run is blessing us with some of these matchups here, and I am all in for what we could possibly see and as far as these outcomes here. Dundee versus Musty. My god, I mean, 2 of the top 4 players in the world going off against each other in a 1v1, and this is Musty's debut. I don't know if Dundee and Musty has ever happened. I know Spec told me that he's faced both of them, and so I don't know if Dundee and Musty have faced each other though. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm here for it. I am definitely here for this one. And Bar teammates as well. They were on the blue team together, as well as Stolen and Tokyo on the silver team together. So a lot of Bar teammates going against each other in the very first round here in the 3rd run. On to our sixth match in the first round, we have Moth versus Plum. Now Moth, I did do some projected I guess matchups for the first round over the past few days just to see what the matchups could have possibly been, and in 2 of the iterations Moth faced either Dundee or Musty, and he got lucky this time. I mean, no disrespect to Plum, he's been definitely getting better. Tim saw some stuff that he liked in his round against Plum, so no slander to Plum at all. But if we're talking Musty, Dundee, and Plum, I know which one I'd rather face in the first round. Moth versus Plum here. Who knows? Can we see an upset? If we do see an upset, Moth, you got to go back to the drawing board and think of something different, my boy, because what are we doing at that point? But nonetheless, Moth versus Plum, I'm here for it. I'm here for all these rounds. And the 7th and final match in the first round will be Sid versus Speed. No real storyline, I don't think, going into this matchup, but still 2 amazing competitors. Sid, I believe, is ranked higher than Speed. Well, I know he's ranked higher than Speed, but Speed does not have a single game win in these 1v1 tournaments here. He has a win in a showcase match against Moth, but that is not a part of the brackets and actual tournament itself. So If he wants to get a win here, it's going to have to be against someone that's ranked higher than him, as it always has been up to this point, and that is Sid this time. Now, you may see the colors next to the players in the left column's names here. That is just, alright, it's going to be easier to go through than it is to explain, because I really didn't write down how I would explain it, Jesus. But the way we're doing this is every one of these matches obviously will be played, and then the first person that completes their match will get to choose what lobby they want to face off against next. So for example, it's better using examples, alright? If Spec beats Assassin, that's projected to happen, it's the #1 player in the world versus someone unranked. So if /win Spec beats Assassin, he gets to handpick which color he wants to go against next. So if he chooses green, he has to wait for that match to be done, and then he faces off against either Moth or Plum. If he chooses blue, he has to wait for this match to be done, then he faces off against either Stolen or Tokyo. But so yeah, that's how that's gonna go. But I probably shouldn't have used Spec as an example, because in the next round, obviously there will be a total of 7 people. So the way I'm doing that is the highest seed that makes it out of the first round will get a bye, and that is most likely gonna be Spec. So I probably shouldn't have used him as an example here. So we're gonna go with a second example. If /win Tim defeats Mr. Sick, then he will move on to the second round, and so will Spec if /win he defeats his projected matchup, which is Assassin here. Spec will get a bye, but Tim has to pick between red, blue, yellow, green, and the purple lobby to choose an opponent for his second round. So I am throwing in a bit of incentive for getting your round early as well, just for that, just because I want to see how fast we can get these matches done. And it is a 2-week thing, but if we can get it done quicker than that, then that's even more amazing. It's less hassle on my end. Look, it's pretty easy going now. This is the easiest tournament, I guess, just tournaments in general that I've ever had to host, so thank you for that. But I'm always going to look for a way to make it easier. I mean, why not? If it flows easier for both you and me, then why not? So that's how that's going to go. Again, I'm going to do that example once again. If Spec makes it out the first round, he gets a bye. If somehow Assassin beats Spec, however, and Tim beats Mr. Sick, then Tim will have the bye. So whoever is the highest seed going into the second round will automatically have a bye, and that's projected to be Spec, which is why I'm just saying if /win. I hope that's easy to understand. If not, then please hit me up and ask questions. I always want questions to be asked rather than somebody not knowing something, just assuming, and then playing games without knowledge behind it, and then having to replay a bunch of shit. You know what I mean? So these are definitely the first round matchups though, so plan against your opponent. Oh, another thing, every player that is on the left will have the choice of choosing map or class. So Spec can choose the class or map against Assassin, and then Assassin will get to choose the remainder. So if Spec chooses map, then Assassin will choose class. If Tim chooses class, then Mr. Sick will choose map. If Auto chooses map, then Miranda chooses class, and so forth. Whatever the guys on the left choose, the guys on the right, the guys /remos on the right will choose the remaining selection there. Alright, so we can now hop off of this screen and go to our car list, which is kind of the last thing to showcase here. I am going to be putting it in the Discord as always. So let's go over here, and here is your car list. A lot of people, well, not a lot, but there's a lot of repeats. There are more repeats than I even expected. But we see the MG Metro from Spec. By the way, this is in order from highest rank to lowest rank as well. We see Spec bringing out the Metro again. Stolen entering his KTM GT4, which I was trying so hard to convince him to use it. Finally pulled the trigger and is bringing that car out. Tim choosing the Delta S4. That'll be the first time it's used in any competitive game in Horizon 4, I feel like. Same with the Abarth 959 or 595. Jesus, making his debut. That's not the Porsche that I'm thinking of. Autocycle choosing the small car to make its debut in the third run. Dundee with the Toyota AE86, another light boy. Moth also, here's one of the first repeats. Moth and Auto both selected the Abarth 595. So here's my rule with sharing your car choice before I put the video out. You guys feel free to tell each other whatever you want. If you guys all want to work together and collectively enter one car, so it's only one car used for the entire tournament, then go ahead. But I personally won't be telling anybody that's entered into the tournament, or anyone at all for that matter. I won't be telling anyone what someone else entered until I put a video out. You guys can ask each other. You guys can plan, because you know there's no real way for me to police that anyway. So that's 100% allowed. But you won't hear from me. I won't be the one telling that information. So yeah, Moth with the Abarth 595 making its return to Fiat. Sid returning his Huracan STO. He entered it into King LF1 and bringing it back for this tournament as well. Speed entering the 1975 Honda Civic. That is a small car as well, I believe. Not as small as the Minis or the Fiat 595s of the world, but it was the fastest drag racing car in Horizon 4, I believe, or at least the top 3 in that game. Plum entering his 2002 Corvette, his patented, if you will. That's his main car. That's his main car. I like seeing people with mains, but also don't force it. If you're better with a multiple variety of cars, then don't force yourself to use one car just for the sake of just because you're forcing it. All right, don't be me. Don't be me and handicap yourself. Go out there and get the W every single day that you can. Musty entering the Exocet FE, the first person, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the first person to enter it that is not named Spec R. So Musty will be making his debut, and that will be the car he is entering. Tokyo and Miranda both entering the 1965 Mini. So Moth told me that he retired the car, and then you get Tokyo and Miranda to double down on it by both selecting it in this tournament. So they brought it back out of retirement, Tokyo and Miranda both. And then we move down to our two very brand new entrants, at least to my knowledge, into the King community here. Mr. Sick entering his Porsche 935, one of the new cars in the last month or two. I forget when it exactly was added, but I saw Speed use it. I think it seems like a very good car. I played against Mr. Sick in his tryouts for the 1v1s, and he did very good in his car for a player that I've never seen play before, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's pulling hairs, but that car is entered, so anybody can enter. Anybody can use that car as well. And then we have A55. His name is, let me just put his whole name out here. That's my fault. I should have had this ready. It is Assassin, not A55. Let me save that. And he is entering the car that I saw him use in his tryouts as well, which is the 599XX Evo, the Ferrari. The Tuna Mark car / speed car, if you will, because he used that in the UKC, I believe. Shout out to the UKC. So yeah, as I said before, all of these cars that you see here in parentheses are eligible for anybody in the tournament to use. So just because you entered the Porsche 935 doesn't mean you have to stick to that car. You can use any car that anyone in this list has entered, alright? Okay, so that is pretty much it. At the end of these videos, I always feel like I'm missing something. I probably am, which I'll just say in the Discord or something, maybe even make another video. But that's pretty much it. We got a stacked first round. I can't wait to get into this. I can't wait to see how it flows. I know it was probably a bit scuffed with the explaining and the explanation of how the rounds will work, but trust me, when we get into the flow of things, it'll work. I'll explain as it goes. If you have any questions, as always, do not hesitate to ask me. Alright, so yeah, the third run, we are here, and I am out. See you guys later.